Let's get right into it. Number 10, the post-session revelation. You're a therapist, wrapping up a session. Your client's been talking about their cat for 45 minutes straight. They're gathering their stuff, hand on the doorknob. Then suddenly, oh, by the way, I think my partner is cheating. Therapists call this the doorknob confession, and it's a huge red flag. It's like waiting until your friend is pulling out of the driveway to mention you crashed their car. By dropping the bombshell at the last second, the patient gets to bring up the scary topic without having to actually talk about it. It's like pulling the pin on an emotional grenade and running away. Some patients do this because they're testing the waters to see how the therapist reacts. Others do it because they're terrified of being judged or having to dive deep into painful stuff. The most common doorknob confessions are about infidelity, self-harm, or starting with the phrase, "I haven't told anyone else this," but therapists are trained to spot this pattern and will often start leaving extra time at the end of sessions or call out the behavior directly by saying, "I notice you tend to share important things right as we're ending." If someone's using the doorknob confession, it means they're not ready to face whatever they're confessing. It's their way of saying, "I need help," without actually having to ask for it. Number 9, the waiting room test. Therapists are studying you from the moment you walk into that waiting room. It's like a secret personality test you didn't know you were taking. Let's say you're always 15 minutes early, arranging the magazines in perfect rows. To your therapist, that's like a neon sign screaming, "I need to control everything." Or maybe you rush in 10 minutes late, coffee spilling, muttering excuses. That tells them you might have trouble with boundaries and responsibility. How you treat the receptionist is a huge red flag moment. Do you barely acknowledge their existence, or do you tell them your entire life story while other patients awkwardly listen? Both extremes make therapists' ears perk up. Some people treat the waiting room like their personal office, taking loud phone calls about their messy divorce. Others sit frozen like they're at a funeral, afraid to breathe too loudly. One therapist told me about a patient who would rearrange all the furniture in the waiting room every single week. Turns out he was doing the same thing in all his relationships, trying to control everything and everyone around him. Another patient would always sit facing the door, never the window, a classic sign of anxiety and hypervigilance, always watching for threats. The session has already started. Number 8, the should machine. Ever catch yourself saying, "I should be better at this by now," or "I should have my life figured out"? Therapists call this the should machine. It's like having a tiny drill sergeant in your head, constantly telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing. "I should be married by now. I should be making more money. I should be happier." Every should is a tiny act of self-violence. It's you picking up a weapon and using it against yourself. And most of these shoulds aren't even yours. They're rules you picked up from your parents, society, or social media. These should thoughts never make you feel good about yourself. They never actually motivate you to make positive changes. Instead, they just make you feel like you're constantly falling short, like you're running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. Some people are so used to this internal criticism that they think it's normal, believing that beating themselves up is the only way to improve. But real growth doesn't come from self-punishment. It comes from self-acceptance. So next time you catch yourself in a should spiral, try replacing it with "I want to" or "I choose to," because "I should exercise more" feels like a punishment. But "I want to exercise more" feels like a choice. And that's the difference between shame and growth. Number 7, the over-intellectualizer. Some people turn every feeling into a TED Talk. "I'm experiencing an elevated state of cortisol production coupled with amygdala activation." Yeah, that's therapist speak for this person is terrified of their own emotions. When therapists spot someone who turns every feeling into a psychology lecture, alarm bells start ringing. These folks can tell you everything about how the brain processes grief, but ask them how they're feeling, and suddenly they're hiding behind a wall of fancy words. It's like they've memorized the entire psychology textbook just to avoid saying "I'm sad." Therapists call this intellectualization, using your big brain as a shield against your feelings. It's like wearing a suit of armor made of psychology terms. Sure, you're protected, but you can't hug anyone while wearing it. The really interesting part is these people often think they're doing great in therapy because they know all the terms. Meanwhile, their therapist is thinking, "This person hasn't actually felt an emotion since 2015. It's especially common in people who grew up in homes where emotions weren't allowed. Little Timmy learns pretty quick that "I'm experiencing temporary emotional dysregulation" goes over better than "I'm angry." But your feelings don't care how many psychology books you've read. They're still there, hiding behind your Harvard vocabulary, waiting to pop out at the worst possible moment. Number 6. The perfect childhood narrative. Your client describes their childhood as perfect, like the Brady Bunch, but better. Sunday picnics where nobody ever fought, and the sandwiches never had crusts. But real life isn't a 1950s commercial for breakfast cereal. Even happy families have that one Thanksgiving where Uncle Bob got drunk and tried to deep fry a frozen turkey. When someone describes their childhood like it was scripted by Hallmark, it usually means they're sitting on a mountain of repressed memories. It's like they've taken a giant paintbrush and covered everything in happy little trees. Real, healthy childhood memories are more like a mixed bag of Halloween candy. Sure, you've got some full-size Snickers in there, but you've also got those weird orange peanut butter things nobody likes. When someone can't remember a single negative thing about their childhood, it's like claiming they won every game of Monopoly they ever played. Either they're lying or someone was cheating. This perfect narrative often shows up in people who've actually been through some really rough stuff. It's their brain's way of blocking out painful memories. The more perfect the story, the more therapists start looking for the cracks. Number 5. The just kidding retraction. You know that friend who says something brutal and then goes, just kidding? Therapists have a special radar for this one. It's like throwing a punch and then pretending you were just stretching your arms. Your cooking tastes like something died in the kitchen. Just kidding. You'll probably die alone. Just kidding. Therapists call this testing the waters with plausible deniability. It's like a social submarine, diving deep with a harsh truth, then quickly surfacing with a safety net. The person doing this wants to say what they're thinking, but they're terrified of the consequences, so they throw their truth grenades with a safety pin called just kidding. If the other person gets upset, they can hide behind the just kidding shield. People who do this a lot often grew up in homes where direct communication was dangerous. Maybe they had a parent who'd explode at honest feedback, so they learned to say things indirectly. Therapists especially pay attention when someone uses this pattern with compliments. You look beautiful today. Just kidding. That's usually a sign that genuine affection makes them so uncomfortable, they have to poison their own kindness before someone else can reject it. They probably meant exactly what they said the first time. The just kidding is just their emotional airbag deploying. Number 4. The relationship recycling. You're sitting in your therapist's office, venting about your current relationship. They never listen to me. They're always on their phone, and when I try to talk about my feelings, they just shut down. This is the exact same speech you gave about your ex 6 months ago, and the one before that. It's like you're watching the same movie over and over, just with different actors playing the lead role. Therapists call this relationship recycling, and it's a huge red flag. Imagine you keep buying the same type of phone. Every time it breaks, you blame the phone. At some point, you're the one dropping the phones. You're not actually dating different people. You're dating the same person in different bodies. Therapists notice that people who do this often had similar dynamics with their parents. Maybe you had a parent who was emotionally unavailable, so now you unconsciously pick partners who are emotionally unavailable. You get to replay that familiar drama, hoping that this time you'll finally get the attention you never got as a kid. You're just collecting emotional bruises like they're Pokemon cards. So next time you're complaining about your partner, pay attention. If it sounds eerily similar to what you said about your ex, maybe it's time to look in the mirror instead of your phone's dating app, because the common denominator in all your relationships is you. And that's actually good news, because you can't change other people, but you can change yourself. Number 3, the scorekeeper. You know that friend who remembers exactly how many times they've helped you move? They'll say, well, I helped you move 3 times, but you've only helped me move once. This isn't just being detail-oriented. It's what therapists call scorekeeping. These people treat relationships like they're running an accounting firm. Every favor is carefully logged into their mental Excel spreadsheet. Every coffee bought, every ride given, every time they fed your cat. It's all there, with interest rates that would make a loan shark blush. To a therapist, this is a 5-alarm fire, because healthy relationships aren't about keeping score. Scorekeepers often had to earn love or attention as kids. Maybe they grew up in a house where everything came with strings attached. Getting ice cream, but only if they cleaned their room, did their homework, walked the dog, and solved world hunger. So they learned to track everything, because that's how they thought love worked. Now they're adults treating friendships like they're preparing for a relationship audit. Most scorekeepers don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're just being fair, but they're actually building walls instead of bridges, and often end up alone because nobody wants to feel like they're constantly in relationship debt. Number 2, the immediate problem fixer. You know that friend who can't just listen when you're venting? The one who turns into a human solutions machine the second you mention a problem. You say, man, work was rough today. They say, you should quit, or maybe file a complaint, or start a side hustle. Therapists actually see this as a major red flag. These instant fixers aren't actually trying to help you, they're trying to help themselves. The second you share something uncomfortable, they toss solutions at you. Your dog dies. Instead of letting you cry, they immediately send you links to pet adoption websites. Therapists call this compulsive fixing. It's a sign that this person has zero tolerance for negative emotions. Your pain makes them so uncomfortable that they'll do anything to make it stop, even if that means shutting down your perfectly normal need to just feel sad sometimes. These fixers often grew up in homes where negative emotions weren't allowed. Maybe they had parents who'd say things like, "Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about." So they learned that negative emotions are emergencies that need to be fixed immediately. Sometimes you don't need a solution. Sometimes you just need someone to sit with you in the dark for a while. Number 1, the laugh off. You're sitting in therapy, telling your therapist about how your cat died last week, but instead of crying, you're giggling through the story. And then, haha, I found him under the porch. Haha, stiff as a board. To you, this might seem normal, but to your therapist, alarm bells are ringing. This nervous laughter while talking about painful stuff is what therapists call inappropriate effect. Your brain is putting on a comedy show when it's actually at a funeral. It's saying, "This is too much to handle. Let's pretend it's a joke instead." Like that one friend who makes jokes about their parents' divorce, or someone chuckling while describing their car accident. It's like putting a band-aid on a broken arm. The really wild part is most people don't even realize they're doing it. You could be sitting there, laughing about how you lost your job, thinking you're just being positive. Meanwhile, your therapist is writing emotional avoidance in their notes, knowing that behind the laughter is a feeling so painful that your mind refuses to even acknowledge it. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.